Well, the problem with consciousness is that it's absolutely obvious to each and every one of us that we are conscious experiencing beings. We all have different experiences, but it's absolutely obvious we are conscious. And for modern science, there's absolutely no way of accounting for consciousness. There's nothing in physics that predicts consciousness. So consciousness is a true anomaly in the sense in which Thomas Kuhn used the idea. There's no way of denying it and no way of explaining it. And normally what one does with an anomaly is first of all ignore it and then try to explain it in the existing paradigm. And in a way that's what happened with light, with the speed of light, that in the late 19th century various experiments showed that however fast you moved, you could never catch up with speed of light even by a fraction of a percent. Even if you were travelling at what seemed to be 9/10 the speed of light, light would still travel past you at 100% the speed of light. So all observers always measure the speed of light to be the same, which is a paradox. It shouldn't be that way. It should be different, the speed of light, depending upon your relative motion. So for example, if I'm driving a car and you pass with another car 10 miles an hour faster, I see you going 10 miles an hour faster. So there's a relative motion. The speed of light seems to be absolute. And they tried to explain that within the existing model, and they couldn't do. So what Einstein said was, let's accept the anomaly. Let's accept that the speed of light is always exactly the same. Then how does physics look? And what he showed was that ordinary everyday physics, sort of physics we observe in this room, is exactly the same, and that's Newtonian physics. But when you start travelling very fast, then things are very, very different. Space is different, space contracts, time runs slower, mass gets heavier, and so he showed that space, time and mass are also not absolutes. They are dependent upon the motion of the observer. And what I'm suggesting is we need to do the same with consciousness. Rather than try to explain the anomaly of consciousness in terms of physics, is say, let's accept consciousness as what it seems to be. It's an undeniable fundamental aspect of existence, and see how that works through. And like with Einstein's shift, it doesn't actually change our existing physics at all. All of existing physics is basically the same. But what it does is open us up to a whole new understanding of what has traditionally been the exploration of mystics and spiritual adepts of one form or another who've really gone and explored consciousness. And there's actually an interesting parallel, another interesting parallel with Einstein. What Einstein showed is that time slows down and space contracts the faster you go. At the speed of light itself, time stops and space disappears, or distance disappears to be more accurate. Now physicists normally ignore that. They say because nothing can travel at the speed of light, we don't have to worry about the fact that time and space drop out the equations. And that's because mass also becomes infinite, and it will take an infinite amount of energy to drive an infinite mass, and since there's not an infinite amount of energy in the universe, we can't do that. However, light travels at the speed of light by definition. So from light's point of view, there is no space, there is no time, and there is no mass from light's point of view. It doesn't have any mass. And it's interesting, the same seems to be true of consciousness. Consciousness has no mass. And if you look at the writings of various yogis and things, when you're in a state of pure consciousness, without form, they describe it as one that's beyond time, beyond space. It's a timeless, spaceless experience. So I think there's interesting parallels here between consciousness and light. And also it's in our language. We talk about the light of consciousness, the inner light, the light that lighteth all minds. So I think what we need to do, just as Einstein accepted physical light as an absolute, I think we need to accept consciousness as an absolute, and then begin to look at how things pan out from that.